Let's bring in the former Assistant Secretary of State for George W. Bush and former Naval Intel Officer Robert Charles. Robert, your thoughts on that breaking Afghanistan news that Lucas just reported on, as well as your overall thoughts on the speech.
I think it's gratifying to hear that news, and I think one other thing to keep in mind is that peace with Ukraine and Russia is on the table. That's a huge step forward that I think we're all going to be paying attention to, sort of modeled on the Theodore Roosevelt 1905 peace between Russia and Japan. But on the speech itself, Todd, I worked for Reagan. I worked for George Herbert Walker Bush. I worked as an Assistant Secretary of State, watched a lot of these things, and it was kind of sad, to be honest. It was sort of the Democrats behaved in what I think was an unserious, ungrateful, unpatriotic way, and that's not what we want of our leaders. If I were a Democrat, I wouldn't want that of my leader, and if Trump were a Democrat and I was a Republican, I wouldn't want that of my leader. So I think what you see here is a president who is marching forward with a mandate, as he so beautifully described, and is literally changing this country for the better. And at some point in time, I guess I'm going to say they've gone so far down their rabbit hole that they're having a hard time climbing back out. They're lost in their own burrows, and they've got to get out of that, because this is America. This isn't Democrat America or Republican America. This is America, and the President of the United States is doing a great job of ending the accountability crisis and restoring a sense to all of us that we should have confidence in our country and our future.
Yeah, and going into this speech, Robert, there was a lot of curiosity about what Donald Trump was going to say about Ukraine. And news was made when he revealed brand new correspondence between him and Vladimir Zelenskyy in the form of a letter. Listen to this.
I received an important letter from President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war.
And importantly, Robert, President Trump also said that he appreciated that President Zelenskyy sent him that letter. So what do you think is going to happen next as we appear to be mending fences with our ally?
But let me say, Carly, at the outset, it's remarkable what credible leadership will do. When your word means something, when you speak bluntly, which everybody from Harry Truman and Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump is doing, and we love that, because, and frankly, the world becomes quickly more orderly when you can trust the leader of the free world to speak truth. On Ukraine, look, I'm hopeful. Peace is on the table for the first time. This is a president who doesn't want to perpetuate war. He wants to find a way. Blessed are the peacemakers. He wants to find a way to get to peace and save all those innocent lives. But net, we've given more than $500 billion to Ukraine since 2014. That's 100 times more than we've given to Taiwan. We are the underwriter and we are the operational arm of NATO. We do not want NATO to go to war with Russia. Russia does not want to go to war with NATO. We're at a moment here, again, and I'll use Theodore Roosevelt in 1905 as the template, where historically, where we really should expect, even though it will be hard, that within the next few months, we will get a serious document that pushes back on this constant war. And ultimately, you'll see this trust fund, which President Trump has proposed, where 50% of it goes to the reconstruction of Ukraine becoming real. And I guess I'll just add this. I would like to see the NATO countries lean in and say, thank you, Donald Trump, for having brought a degree of seriousness to this conversation. We are 16% of their budget. The other 31 countries have not contributed what we have to Ukraine. They give maybe 2%. Actually, only 11 of the remaining 31 give 2%. We are the serious player. We are the world leader. And Donald Trump is saying, well, the war is got to come to an end. Russia, you got to sit up and understand it's got to come to an end. And the same thing with Ukraine. Right. So let's hope Zelensky's become a little more mature.
Yeah, and during President Trump's speech, China announced that they're going to raise their defense spending by over 7%. So that should be noted as well as where the direction of NATO allies in the United States should be headed. We're almost out of time, but I do have to ask you, because you said that you worked for Ronald Reagan, and one of the lines from Elise Lockin's rebuttal speech was that she said that Ronald Reagan would be rolling in his grave over how Donald Trump is handling the Ukraine situation. Do you think that's true?
Well, first of all, I think it's audacious for any of us to speak for Ronald Reagan. Secondly, let me say, no, Ronald Reagan would be very happy. He believed in peace through strength. He was one of the great architects of peace through strength, and Donald Trump is the guy right now that is putting that into operation. So, I'm a big fan of the founders, of Lincoln, of TR, of Reagan, and of Trump. And I think anybody who runs this down with sort of childish statements about, history that are inaccurate really ought to be. I'm not sure they did themselves any favors there. Yeah.
Agree with you, Robert Charles. Thank you for your time and your insight.
Thank you so much, Robert.